Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thanks so much for finding your way over here for Aging, Caregiving, and the Future of Wealth. My name is Ida Rademacher. I'm a vice president here at the Aspen Institute. I lead our financial security program and our broader set of work thinking across all of the leadership and policy programs at Aspen about the way that we use this platform to tell the bigger stories and ask the bigger questions about the economy and society. It's my pleasure to introduce this panel, not only because this issue is something I'm personally passionate about, but because to a person, the people on this panel are people I'm passionate about. They're real experts. I hope you find time to talk with them after this and really understand how many ways you could continue to go deep on the ways that we can find real answers to this question. I'll say quickly before I introduce that at the Institute, with many of these partners, we've been exploring the future of wealth in a lot of ways. And a couple of exciting things coming up as we have a new partnership this year with the Federal Reserve System to start a new measure on what we're calling essential wealth, understanding the role that not only income from labor, but income from capital plays in a person's agency and dignity, and how much of it we need in this society to do the functions. It's not about wealth, it's not the end, it's the means. And what we're going to talk about in this panel are the things that we're thinking about every day here at Aspen, which is what are the functions we need to be doing better at providing and equipping people with the ability to handle as they age and as the society around us is grappling with how to reinvent the institutions and the instruments and the innovations to help us do that. Christy Furco is Senior Vice President, Senior Executive Vice President at Wells Fargo and also the Head of Financial Inclusion. So we do a ton of work with them. She's going to be your moderator today. She's going to introduce the rest of the panel. But you're in the right room, and we're so glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ida. To get us started, I would just love to get a sense of who is in the room today. So if you are planning to retire, or you're either currently retired or you're planning to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, can I have a show of hands? Okay. And how many of you are in a caregiving situation currently? Only a few. Okay. How many of you anticipate you will be in a caregiving situation? There we go. Okay. That's what I had affected. So what if I told you 8 years before a diagnosis of dementia, an individual loses half of their net worth because before they even know they have the condition, right? Half of their net worth. It's pretty extraordinary. Or, on average, the Americans are going to have to financially plan for 30 years of retirement. And many don't even have a retirement system or savings through their employer. Or what if I told you in the next 25 years, $124 trillion of wealth is going to be transferred between the generations? As we think about this topic of aging, caregiving, and the future of wealth, there are a myriad of issues that we will deal with and talk about, and we will just scratch the surface with this panel, but I am thrilled that I have this amazing panel with me today to be able to engage in the discussion. So first, let me introduce you to Seju Jung. He is the executive chairman and founder of Gnome, the behavior change company that worked with millions of users to transform health habits. I'm also joined by Deb Whitman. She's the Chief Public Policy Officer for AARP and the author of The Second 50, Answers to the 7 Main Questions of Midlife and Beyond. And we have a copy of the book. If you want to show Vanna, thank you. And Peter Kalatis is my final guest. He's the president and CEO of Next 50. It's a private foundation that has moved its $300 million endowment into aging investments, which is pretty extraordinary. He's based here in Denver, and Peter focuses on making aging more affordable, and particularly for marginalized populations. And as Ida said, I am Christy Furco, so welcome. So let's get started. And Deb, maybe you can just kick us off, because everyone wants to know the answer to the question of what do people need to do to live longer, healthier lives? So let's just start with the macro.
So it was so much fun doing research for this book, because I got to dive into the data and see where we actually had evidence for how to live a longer and better life. So who wants to know what I found? All right, good. You're going to be raising your hands in a little bit too, so this is have a little audience participation. So the best evidence are for all the things your doctor's been telling you to do. So if you have these 5 healthy habits, you live about a decade longer. And the habits are eating right, exercising, not smoking, not drinking too much, and maintaining a healthy body weight. And I'll just say, I don't do all 5 of those on the same day. so don't feel bad if, my dad does 1 of those. He stopped smoking when my brother was born. But even if you do 1 healthy habit, it gains an additional year of life. And what was shocking to me is those are the things your doctor tells you all the time, and none of those should have surprised you. But when I was researching, I found that our mindset, our sense of purpose, and our relationships are also really important. And so here's the audience participation part. I need everybody to close your eyes. I need you to picture an older person and think of the first word that comes to mind. Picture an older person, first word that comes to mind. Got it? Okay, raise your hands if it's a positive word. All right, everybody open your eyes. Keep your hands up. You with your hands up live 7.5 years longer. I feel like Oprah, under your chair. 7.5 years. So if you have a positive view that aging is a time of purpose and growth and meaning, you live 7.5 years longer. Your cardiovascular, you can change. You can actually change your mindset. So if you didn't have your hand up, this is what I want you to do in addition to your exercising and your eating right. Catch yourself when you're saying ageist things. Think about other people that you admire that are older. There's a whole way, and I know you've done a ton of work on this as well. The other two, if I can just take one more second, I don't know how many people saw Bob Waldinger yesterday at the Good Life session, but I interviewed him. Bob is a Zen priest and runs the Harvard Study of Adult Development. So they've been surveying people for 87 years. And he looked at his data at the 80-year-olds and he said, what was different about them in their 50s that made them healthy when they were 80s? And he compared the healthy 80s and the unhealthy 80s. And it wasn't their cholesterol. It wasn't their diets. It was actually the quality of their relationships. Mm-hmm. So that's the other healthy habit that I want you to take on. The last is a sense of purpose and meaning. And you can find purpose and meaning from being a caregiver. I saw a lot of you with your hands up. Caring for a pet, doing something that you love or you feel valued. I will share 2 others, is that I got questions last year from the audience about if religion and pets make you live longer. Yes to both of those. And last night I got a question that tennis apparently helps you to live 10 years longer because not badminton, and I don't know about pickleball.
Pickleball, yeah, exactly.
But the cardiovascular and probably also the connection with the other person playing the game. So that's my recipe for a good long life.
That's great. So Siju, I'd love to build on this a little bit with you because, at NOME you study millions of people and their behaviors. And can you share a little bit about this connection between mental health and physical health?
For sure. Thank you very much for having me today. So to answer the question, I want to share our 17 years of our NOOM history. That people do not know how long our company has been existed. That I found the company in 2008 with a mission that I wanted to deliver healthy outcomes for many users using science and technology. In the beginning, we thought building a very sharp and good fitness product can deliver healthy outcome. Fitness product, because we thought let them help to do more exercise can deliver healthy outcome. But it was not, because a lot of people who already do exercise regularly, they are already healthy. For those who do not do exercise, they need our help. The problem was, it's not about willpower. People think it's about willpower. We don't think it's about willpower. There's a lot of layers of the reason why they could not build a habit, go to gym often or do exercise. So it was a fascinating topic for us. How can we change this habit, either good or bad habit? So I clearly remember in 2012 when I pitched to investors that I need your money to build a healthy habit, behavior change platform. No one trusts in us. Behavior change is a word nowadays. We chat about behavior change and healthy habit quite often these days. But in 2012, not really. Second, psychology was not a word that we applied to diet, exercise. Psychology was not the word that we often associate with. Then why Noom? Why did we use psychology? Because we want to really hack the brain. We want to change the way people approach about how to get healthy. Yes, it's not fun. Eat healthier food, move your body, right? Do you better with your stress management and have a better sleep. All important, very important pillars, not easy. And why is a good question. So we figured we need to figure what is the why people wanted to change their health and what triggers now and how we can approach. That's why we use psychology and CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. And that all, the put together this kind of psychological approach to build healthy habit was a magical combination. And that's how Noom was launched in 2014. Now, which became very common practice for, let's build a healthy habit. So that was a long way to give you the background, but let me answer your question now. So yes, we all know now, your mindset drives your body. Your body is a result of how your mindset is. And also, body is your foundation. The body is giving you how your mind is. So which one is important? It's all connected. So we believe how we can create a healthy mindset environment that the body can follow and eventually have a very healthy outcome in terms of your mind health, your body, and our relationship. Very important. Without this successful support relationship, our body, our mind, I don't think we can speak about the true well-being and wellness. The healthy person means your mind is clear and good, your body is strong, have a good relationship. That's the way we are thinking. And we merely put the technology and science, medication to support this, to make that happen. The good news is, after COVID-19, during the COVID-19 time and after now, it became very ordinary that people are proactively looking for, invest into prevention, and also looking for how to get healthy and then get the result now. Rather delay, if I put the effort for prevention, will I get the benefit now? Yes. So that's our focus, and I have seen a tremendous change of the market, industry, and look at us today. This room is quite full. It's a reflection of what people are looking for how to get healthy, the longevity, the well-being, a new definition. Let me pause.
Well, it sounds so easy, right? We're just listening, yes, eat well, have relationships, exercise a little bit, but why don't we all do it? We all know what the 5 things are, so why is it so hard to do it consistently, to have healthy habits?
May I answer?
Please.
I feel bad that I'm talking too much, but
no,
thank
but
you.
And everyone can
because
answer,
I think our brain is biased for an immediate outcome. So let me tell you also very interesting the fact. Noom is known for weight loss management. I get that, but we did not build a business for weight loss. Believe it or not, we built a business based on CDC's, the guideline for DPP program, Diabetes Prevention Program. So CDC published a great program how to prevent the diabetes or cure from pre-diabetic condition to normal person. Over 60 years of a tremendous study, and they created the textbook at CDC, and it's for free to access. We were the first fully certified online service for that, and we thought it will work well for a lot of diabetics and pre-diabetics. In 2012, it did not work. We changed the word, exactly the same product, same UX. We just changed the word that we can help you to lose weight. And that was like a 22 times better reaction than we mentioned, we can help you to cure your diabetic conditions. So even diabetic patient or pre-diabetics, they want to just deny, maybe just like close eyes for now. But when we measure what we can help you to lose weight, people grab it. The thing is, for managing diabetes and pre-diabetes conditions, losing more than 5.5% body weight, no matter how heavy or light, will work. So that's the way our service has been established, and we understood, people want to react what they can see the result now, which is weight loss. Either that is a reason for vanity reason, or they are looking for how to get healthier. We welcome that reason. We also want to make sure that people have a lot of shame related to weight. People also have a lot of accumulated failures over years that relate to the weight, because it's so difficult. That's why we break down from how we can help the users to build a healthy habit we call micro habit every day, to little by little. Every day we reset, little by little. It could take some time, but if you do it, and it will become you form the healthy habit, and that becomes yours. And that's the most sustainable and powerful way you can have a very healthy life, unlock your potential.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
So Peter, you do a lot of work with economically disadvantaged and populations. And so I'm curious, how does this science of aging, how does it impact it differently in those populations?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello and welcome to those who aren't from Colorado. You probably know our state because of the beauty and the ski towns and maybe our cannabis. But did you know that Colorado is actually the second fastest aging state in the nation?
I didn't know that.
And did you know that we already here in Colorado have more people over 60 than under 18?
Wow.
And we're now one of 11 states who own that distinction. And here in Aspen, what does that mean? It means that here in Aspen, in Pitkin County, which is where we are, about 0.25% of the population is currently over 65. And if you all know what the average Social Security check is in here, it's under $2,000. Well, rent here is 3 times that. So people are forced to live and work outside of Aspen. So how do you get to Aspen? You live in rural communities with unreliable public transportation, a healthcare system that candidly is crumbling and might actually cease to exist after tomorrow or next week. And there's more. It's not just Aspen. It's not just Colorado. Where you live matters. Think about zip codes for a second. If you happen to be so lucky as to be born, I don't know, in a wealthy suburb of Austin, you could live to be 97 years old. But if you're born in, say, an Appalachian coal town, you're only likely to live to be about 59 years old. That's basically 35, 40 years of difference, all dependent on where you live. And so I think we have to sort of be thoughtful about not just what happens here in Colorado, what happens in Texas and in West Virginia. I think we have to also be mindful of the levels of poverty that we see on tribal lands, in other rural communities. When we look at some data, Colorado's poverty rate amongst older adults is about 14.5%, which is higher than the national average. And then when you get into those numbers, I know we have kind of a geeky audience. You look at the poverty rates of Black elders, Hispanic elders. In some cases, they're double that of white elders. And bottom line, it's expensive to get old.
Oh, I see.
Right? And so at Next 50, our private foundation works to ameliorate that. And I love how we started talking about individual action, because actually these kinds of actions aren't reserved for those who can afford it. I used to, in a former life, I used to run a community-based organization working with people who were couch surfing at the age of 80. These people were the most resilient, had a sense of purpose, they had religion, they read, they had family, and they were living well into their 80s and 90s as well. So these habits apply across the board, but I think we need to be mindful of some of the things that we do don't apply evenly across the board.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Deb, let's talk a little bit about women, because women live 6 years on average longer than men, but yet they have lower retirement savings, the data tells us. And so how does what Peter just shared, how does that apply to women?
It's even more true for women. So I see lots of ladies in the crowd. So I actually spent a month during the pandemic trying to figure out why women live longer. And one reason is our biology. Both our chromosomes, double X's, are a little more stable. Our hormones help protect us from infection. And I found the weirdest study of monks and nuns in Bavaria, where they lived similar lives and had the similar food and stress, and still the women lived 2 years longer. So there's that biological piece. The other piece is behavioral. We are more likely to go to a doctor. My husband, who's alive in the back, thank God, had a massive heart attack while hiking outside of Boulder, Colorado, and luckily he asked for help. Not all men do, and that's why, honey, you're still here today. Men are also more likely to go to war, have more guns, you drive faster, all of those things. So women live 6 years longer. Women also earn less. Right? We earn about 82 cents on the dollar. And that sounds not that much, right? That's just pennies. But over the course of your lifetime, Hispanic women make $1.1 million less over the course of their lifetime than white men. And that adds up. We also take more time out of the labor force, both for caring for our children. Women are more likely to quit their jobs to take care of older adults. And we're more likely to work part-time, which until recently, your employer didn't have to cover you with your retirement plan if you worked part-time. They've changed that. So now you have to work 2 years with the employer, and then they have to cover you. But all of those things add up that later in life, women have less wealth, less income. Our Social Security checks are several $1,000s lower, and we're going to live 6 years longer. And so, when we look at elder poverty in particular, it is a lot of older women. And so we need to work twice as hard to prepare. We need to be thinking about our caregiving needs, because often we take care of our love you, honey, spouse. And since we live longer, we might not have somebody to take care of us. So all of these things come together as we age.
Yeah.
Oh, and one last thing. Age discrimination combines with gender discrimination, combines with racial discrimination. So if an older woman loses her job, it takes longer than a younger woman, and if she's and it takes several weeks longer than men to find work too. So all of these things also conspire against us to make it harder to age well.
Yeah.
And we have higher rates of dementia. Sorry.
So there's a lot there.
There's a lot
there.
There's a lot to think about.
So I think we framed the problem pretty well. Let's talk a little bit about, with these demographic shifts, and certainly difference for underserved communities, for women, how do we actually begin to start preparing for it? And so, Peter, I'm curious what you guys are seeing in the foundation and really actions that you're taking to really help move this forward.
First of all, there is a tremendous disconnect between the demographic realities and our public policy.
Yeah.
And I could spend hours talking about this. I know Deb and I could probably go off on tangents on this. But here's the gist. When you realize that in just 5 years, there's going to be more people over 65 than under 18 nationally, yesterday the census came out and said, actually, half the counties in the states are already there. When you consider that, and then you add that up to looking at our federal budget, which, we're talking about right now, it's about $7 trillion. Almost 40% of it is actually tied to aging. Think about it: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, aging research. whatever's left of it. Local Meals on Wheels, caregiving, job training programs, all of that stuff. That's 40% of our national budget. And here's the disconnect. There's literally no one in charge of 40% of that budget. Not at the White House. There are siloed agencies responsible for each of these topics. In fact, the one sub-agency buried in HHS just got zeroed out. So talk about disconnect. When your elected leaders are either in denial, or it's too big of a mega trend to deal with, or I don't know, maybe we're fundamentally ageist and we don't want to address it. There's a huge disconnect. And I think we need more advocates across all ages, like in this room, which is fantastic, to really start understanding that this is an urgent matter like climate. I can tell you, I speak before impact investors and financial types. I have private equity gentlemen, mostly, come up to me and recognize that aging and longevity is a next big global mega trend that we need to invest in and bring capital into to fix. But when you look at what we need to fix here first, we need to fix our caregiving system. We've run out of people to take care of us. We don't have enough geriatricians. Just in this state alone, there's only a little over 100 geriatricians in this state. Nationally, that's about 7,500 or so. And we're going to need 30,000 of these well-trained experts to take care of all of us as we age. So there's sort of the disconnect is between our public policy and the demographic reality, but there's also a disconnect with our sense of urgency to the matter. I can tell you, I turn 50 next year, and I'm already
great.
Yeah, thank you. I want to write a book too, but I want to sort of create the world that's going to take care of me when I turn 80, and I think it's going to be AI robots, candidly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Can I
potentially.
Can I
Please.
add on that? I'm going to give you a little bit of good news because I'm with Peter, and I've been knocking my head into the wall on this for 25 years. I worked in the Senate. I ran the Senate Aging Committee. I've been at ARP for over a decade, trying to get people to think and plan for aging, and particularly at the federal level. And Peter's right. We have no plan. Other countries have plans. What I'm excited about is actually states and localities are creating plans. So we have a network of age-friendly cities and communities. We have over 800 across the country. Many here in Colorado, including the state of Colorado, has created a plan for the future of aging, which I'm really proud of. Comes out next week. Colorado is also ahead of the curve because half of us can't save for retirement because our employers don't offer us an opportunity. And then we blame people for not having any money when they retire because they had to put it aside every single week by themselves. The states are stepping in where the federal government is leaving out. And Colorado is one of those states that's actually a huge leader because not only is it covering all workers whose employers don't offer them a retirement plan, but it's actually joining with other states to make that program even more efficient. So I'm seeing some places and other countries that are creating plans. They're more looking ahead. We need to do that in a national plan because there's many of the programs like Social Security that are only national. There's nothing that states can do about those.
Yeah. So we've covered national plans. We've covered state engagement. Let's get to individual accountability because you certainly have studied people that have long-term success versus those who haven't. And so what are some of the actions as we think about preparing for these financial futures? What has your research taught you about what we can do?
Absolutely. And what we have seen and learned by monitoring millions of user base change their behavior, which is very difficult. We know it's not easy to change behavior. We have seen the similarities for, I believe that the financial sector also, there's a lot of habit has to be formed better for their the financial well-being in the future. I see the similarities. Let me share some observation. We have seen our user base that who are very eager to get things done overnight, often do not get a good outcome, unfortunately. Who wants to, I want to fix this now. does not get the good benefit. We have seen much better healthy outcome. In other words, like weight management, healthier the health outcome came from the people who stay consistent and stay every day with our program, or they put the effort, even if it's a little. That has a far better outcome. So we have seen that in order to change behavior, it requires three things. Number one, again, we want to address one more time. It's not about willpower. We don't think it's about willpower, because I think it is too hard on ourselves over so many years that I don't have a good willpower, so I fail to actually manage my weight. That's not the right approach. We don't want to approach that way at all. Our approach and what we have seen the success was, number one, great program for you. Like probably similar to you guys, what you said, like we need a good program for your financial well-being. We also want to make sure that you have a very good, well-designed, personalized program for your own health is number one. Because there's a lot of information out there we'll talk about later, but what is the right information for you, right? What is a good program for you is important. And second, having a one-on-one coach who is a mentor or coach. For our case, we call coach matters, because hold accountability by a person is very, very powerful. So put a person who can guide you and hold accountability is also another way to improve the success. And third is, I think they mentioned about play the 10 years, improve the 10 years of life expectancy. Similar, having a community around you has a similar interest about your well-being and how to get healthy. Having a community can be your spouse or your the group that can enjoy the tea, coffee. Very important. Having a community will also help you to stick with healthy behavior. So three things again: great program, the personalized, and second, have a one-on-one coach, and three, the right community around you that will deliver higher chance to build healthy habit, which becomes your lifestyle.
Yeah. This one-on-one coaching, I think, is interesting, because certainly in financial inclusion, financial health, we've seen some of the best outcomes when it is one-on-one and personal coaching. The concern that I have is, given the impact that you guys are saying, this is going to impact everyone. One-on-one coaching may not be scalable. I mean, so, creating this community, and I can't help but think with AI and some of the other advents that are coming, you talk about robots to come in to take care of us, is there a way to create scale that actually helps the individuals beyond one-on-one coaching, that can really have it be scalable so we can all realize the benefits?
I am optimistic that this current AI and robot is going to help us, that having healthier lifestyle and also longevity will become available for many the people. Why? Because yes, scalability is a matter for one-on-one or the community, but we have seen from our own experience that using AI to support the coach can actually cover better for more users, has happened, and we deliver good outcome. At the same time, AI cannot replace human empathy. And users are looking for real conversation. And let's say if I have a dev is my coach, and I want to check by dev, not like ChatGPT. I'm fine with a dev is assisted by ChatGPT to create a personalized program for my own health. I actually want that, so dev can work better, but I want to make sure she check on me and I give her permission. That's very powerful, because we're human. So I think that's the positive side. I see, oh wow, AI and robot can actually assist us. And again, the longevity is no longer limited to the rich. This is a topic that everybody can actually receive it. And one interesting stat I want to share with you guys, from our new user base, we usually didn't have that much a reaction from early 20s. But now, a lot of early 20s are using Noom service because they are looking for longevity. Even 20s are looking for longevity. And we ask, you guys are young, why are you looking for longevity? The definition of longevity has changed. It's not about I just want to extend my life expectancy. Yes, but they know if they put the effort now, they will have they will have the sustained and long, high performing years, many more years, starting from 20s, and they will continue to do that. So the concept has changed. The people don't drink that much. 20s, they don't drink that much compared to our generation when we were 20s. It's all positive change. is happening now. So to actually quickly answer of the current crisis with the aging society, I see the opportunity that if we apply preventative approach to our overall health, I think there's a path. We can actually manage this like the crisis of like the Medicaid and Medicare, all the budget issues. Why don't we get educated and get healthier so we don't have to take like a lot of drugs and we pay a lot of dollars because we are sick in the future? That's my hope, and I believe we'll make a better choices than our previous generation in terms of our own health.
I hope so too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope so too. So I want to be able to open it up for questions to the audience. And before I do, we'll get started for that. But if you've got questions, but I would just love to give each of you an opportunity to share with the audience one specific action that they can take to be able to prepare for this healthy, financial, and secure aging that we've talked about. So Peter, start with you.
There's a lot, but here's one. How about stop buying those really bad greeting cards that make fun of you getting older?
Oh,
Right?
the
Why
mindset.
are we not celebrating the fact that we're getting older and wiser and smarter and more powerful?
I love that.
So a little plug, there's a wonderful company in Colorado called Age Friendly Vibes, and it's a small business. She makes age-friendly birthday cards,
Love it.
one small way.
Deb.
So I gave you your 5 healthy habits, and I'm with Peter on the mindset being one of the major things to change. You know, I called the book The Second 50 just to make people realize that life isn't over at the 50, it's just your halfway inflection point. And I think I took away from the research personally that I need to invest more in relationships, my gorgeous kids are here. You know, I spent a long time as a working mom, and now I'm realizing, you know, I need to make some more investments in friendships and connections because that's really important as we age too.
That's great. Yes, I do.
We are all born to be loved. So do not be hard on yourself in terms, especially for weight. Cherish your small victory every day by having a little better choice than yesterday. Spread that good experience to your loving spouse and your family members and your community. Repeat again. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great. And I was going to say the one action for me is to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
We spend so much time beating ourselves up over all the things that we shoulda, coulda, woulda done. And grace just allows you to say, I'll be better tomorrow. And tomorrow's a new day to try for that. So with that, let's open it up for questions. I saw a hand. And we've got mic runners coming, so if you can wait for the mic, but we'll start here.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question and a comment.
Great.
The question is, as someone whose both parents had dementia at 89, it's my great fear, of course. Are any of these pills that are out there that you see on TV, and do they work in your opinion? Is there?
No.
Okay.
No, so the things that you can reduce your risk for dementia and cognitive decline. It's not that you can completely reduce it, particularly if you have a genetic history. But if you do those healthy habits that I talked about, the sleeping, diet, exercise, all of those, add sleeping, add if you have hearing issues, make sure you get those.
I wish I did. I have misophonia. I hear everything.
The connection is also really important, and keeping your brain active is extremely important.
Like crossword and stuff like that.
It can be crosswords, but it can be even just when you're driving home, drive 3 or 4 different ways. One of the things that we know is that people with higher education actually can have more plaques in their brains without having symptoms.
Oh.
And I asked a doctor why that was, and he said it's a lot like if you have 8 different ways to get to one place, and one of those ways is blocked, you know how to get there, right? And so by building lots of different connections in our brain, that's also really important. And the last thing I'll say is sometimes dementia can be brought on by pharmaceuticals. So last year, my dad started seeing trees grow out of the wall, and it was because he was put on a new drug. And so it wasn't dementia at all as soon as he
What
came
drug
off.
was it?
There's lots of different ones that can have different reactions. And so again, in my book, I have a whole chapter, Will I Lose My Memory, and all the things. And AARP has been working on brain health for quite a while and have good tips for people.
My comment is, I wrote a memoir and I found out something about myself that I think would be helpful. The new 3 R's are not reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're resilience, which you don't know that you have until you've gone through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Reinvention. I think that's so important to find a new passion every 20 years. And relationships, as you said.
That's
I
great.
love that.
Thank you, Susan. So over here, yeah.
Oh, well, so many good points now. My mind's just going to many. But I do think this last point of celebrating getting older and the wisdom that you have, our society hasn't typically done that. It's all about youth and exercise. Well, yes, let's carry it into the older ages. But what I was going to ask you about was, Kate and all of you have said, okay, women live typically a few years longer. Women typically are poorer.
Yeah.
Women take care of their children and often are left taking care of their children and are a grandmother. Don't you think that maybe, and you were saying, of course, the mind-body relationship is so important. It's the relationship that they might have. Women typically have to have relationships. As a mother and a grandmother, grandmothering is incredibly nurturing, and you nurture back. It's a circle. I think that grandmothers typically in a lot of societies, well, it's different in different societies, but I would just say that that's an important factor, that in maybe women aging longer, living longer.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
great.
it is.
Thank you. We'll go over here. Yeah, great. Over here and then.
I would just like appreciate all the data and the 5 steps you laid out, but I would like you guys to address, if you can, the science on the microbiome and what we're learning about our flora that's inside of us. Where you could argue that we're simply trailer homes for the flora that's really living in us. What's the science saying about how our flora affects our longevity and health?
I don't know.
The microbiome
Yeah.
part? It's very important as microbiome is the foundation of how your happy hormone is generated, serotonin. So it's extremely important. So the microbiome market has been growing very fast since 10 years ago and still growing well. But what people are missing that taking like a microbiome, there's a lot of prebiotics, the pills or the powder format that you can consume. But if you have a lot of mental stress, then even if you have you provide a good like prebiotics and probiotics, the materials that your gut may appreciate it, your stress can actually do even like greater harm to like destroy all the environment in your gut. So like in order to have a good healthy microbiome, the environment, you need to have, unfortunately, I will say very generic words, but have to have like a very good balance of like sound sleep, resting, charging, right? Well, we charge our phone all the time. Why don't we charge our bodies?
Yeah.
That's the way I see ourselves. Like sleep, very important. Stress management, extremely important. And also some activity. I don't say fitness. Activities like walk or do something. Like you can really have a hard to breathe when you talk together while you walk. That's a good like exercise. So do that because that is actually required to maintain the good healthy the gut. So that, unfortunately, if you take one just probiotics, the pill will not just cure or provide it. Again, just one critical like stress can actually destroy the whole environment. Then it takes a longer time to rebuild.
That's great. I was over here.
Hi. Okay, you guys can see me. My name is Bree. I am a founder of a housing company based out of Baltimore, where we're tackling the vacancy issue by buying abandoned properties to try to, remediate the housing crisis. And I originally started in residential homeownership, but as I learned more about the housing crisis facing seniors, I've just become so impassioned around it. And as you said, we just do not have enough in place right now to service our current seniors as well as all of those who are going to be coming up in the next few decades. With Parity, we've started to kind of create a mechanism where elders who are still in their homes, who might have, 3,000 square foot homes, 3 stories. A lot of times they're just on that first floor. They're not going upstairs, too many steps. So we've started looking at ways where there can be some, kind of like co-living, where younger people who are seeking affordable housing can cohabitate with elders. And that also helps with the isolation pandemic, because we know that's another issue facing elders. But aside from housing, I'm just really curious, is there one particular element that you all are really passionate about, whether it's expanding Medicaid, expanding access to healthcare or caretakers? You mentioned that there's, not enough geriatricians. So is there like one thing that you structurally would, if you could wave a magic wand, would like in your mind kind of ameliorate the kind of challenge that we're facing?
So I can cheat on that a little bit. My last chapter is all the things that we need to do. And I cheat because my one thing is a plan, which is like 100 things. What you're doing on housing is really innovative and really important. There's over 50 million unused bedrooms in this country. And we're still building houses for single families at a time when what we need is accessible housing for people with various abilities. I didn't realize that my split level wasn't going to be a house that I could age in until my father-in-law's 94-year-old girlfriend came over. Yeah, let that set in. And Flo looked up at my 6 stairs like they were Mount Kilimanjaro. And so you're right, a lot of people are trying to move onto the first floor and then have all this extra space. That can be a source of income for them. It can be an extra way to have a caregiver. And we're seeing really innovative models of moving students into those extra rooms that help with the housing crisis for students who can't afford it or low-income folks. So what you're doing, I'd love to learn a little bit more, is I think really, really important, because it helps on the income side, it can help on the connection side, and it can certainly help solve a big problem, I think, of all ages, which is affordability.
I want to jump in here too, because I was leaning into the project, so thank you for doing that, and I'd love to chat with you afterwards. And I think what you're getting at fundamentally, if I could wave a magic wand, it's to end ageism. And now, hear me out. We don't value aging. If we valued aging in this country, we wouldn't force kids to go to school and on the 100th day get them dressed up as 100-year-olds, making them hate their future selves. If we valued aging, we would actually retain, retrain, recruit older workers, and like the business leaders in this room, you need to greenlight your HR departments to keep doing that at Next 50. We consider age discrimination and all sorts of other workforce-related matters related to aging before we choose to invest in the company with our endowment. And so if I could wave a magic wand, it would be to end ageism, and I love your housing example, so thank you for doing that.
Great. Go on back here.
Jack Moriarty, thank you for the talk with the Lafayette Square Institute. Peter, you mentioned this profound disconnect between demographics on the one hand and public policy, and it strikes me that nowhere is that more apparent than Social Security and the lack of, it would appear to be a serious conversation about its future, and I think there was projections within the last week even saying, nope, it's going to be even less time between now and insolvency. So I'd be curious, particularly Deb, but also Peter, to weigh in on what's the status of that debate? Where is AARP in particular plugging in, and is there any reason for optimism on some solution moving forward?
So my first job out of graduate school was at the Social Security Administration doing research on retirement. When I was in the Senate, we wrote a report that only minor tweaks were needed, but now we're 20 years later, and in 2034, last week, the trustees of the Social Security Administration said that in that year, the trust funds will be deleted depleted, not deleted, and we won't have enough money coming in the system to pay out benefits. And so right now, the way the law works is that the amount coming in has to equal the amount going out, and so benefits for current retirees would have to be cut by almost 20%. Now, do I think that will happen? No. Having worked in Congress, I do not think that will happen. But the longer they take to solve it, the harder those choices are. And so AARP has been pushing for decades. I have been studying every possible way to change it, to make it solvent, and what the implications are to real people for those changes. It's not rocket science, but it needs to be done sooner than later. But we need real political will. We need leadership at the presidential and congressional level. And I just haven't, unfortunately, seen that as hard as we've pushed.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Just to say, I think we need all ideas happening at once. Social Security expert to my right, but as someone who sort of sees the frustration in working with marginalized older populations who literally can't live off of the existing Social Security that they have. We need everything to happen all at once, and we need political will. We need, this is very unpopular, retirement ages have to go up. The natalist move, the pro-natalist movement is actually, if you tear it back, it's not a bad idea. We need young people working, but we need all ideas on deck to really overhaul Social Security.
Great. Well, unfortunately, we're out of our time. I see some additional hands up, so the panelists will be around. Thank you guys for coming today. I hope you heard something that would compel you to take action to live a happy, healthy, and thriving life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.